want to talk to you a little bit about our sleep hygiene. Um, I think it's really important piece to address in the field of psychology and mental health. You know, when we are suffering from mental health concerns, oftentimes it does affect the quality of sleep that we get. And the worse our sleep is, the more that those symptoms start to worsen as well. And it kind of tends to create a pretty vicious cycle. So I think the first step to addressing mental health concerns is really looking at ways to break that cycle. So that's what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today. Um, I think there are two words that really stand out when it comes to therapy geared towards addressing sleep concerns. We're really interested in consistency and associations. And so I'll get into that in just a minute. Before we get into consistency, it's important to figure out exactly how much sleep we need. So if you're not sure how much sleep you need, that might be a good place to start. I think we have this idea that we need between 7 and 9 hours of sleep a night, and that doesn't mean to try to find the average of that and get around 8 hours of sleep. It's different for everyone. There's sort of a magic number in there. So starting with that, really playing around with, do you need 7 hours and 15 minutes of sleep a night? Do you need more like 8 hours and 45 minutes? A good kind of hack or way to figure that out is taking advantage of things like jet lag or going camping for more than one night, and really kind of trying to disrupt that circadian rhythm. So when you get back from a trip, you know, your brain, that piece in your brain that kind of keeps track of the cycle that we're on when it's time to wake up, when it's time to go to sleep, that ends up getting reset. And so playing around with going to bed a little bit later and waking up at the same time, or trying to wake up a little bit earlier, or maybe you need more sleep than you're getting. So once you figure out how much sleep you need, then we move into consistency. Really, the key for good sleep hygiene is being as consistent as possible, going to bed, waking up at the same time, even on the weekends, which can be hard to do. I think if it comes down to going to bed a little bit later, still trying to wake up earlier to keep and maintain that consistent schedule. The next thing I want to talk to you about is associations. Our brains are highly associative. We love making connections. All forms of conditioning we seem to really respond well to. And when it comes to our environment and our behaviors that relate to sleep, it's no different. So really being able to pay attention to the associations. When you walk into your bedroom, what is that association? When you crawl into bed, does that mean that it's time to toss and turn for a long time before finally falling asleep? Does that mean that your thoughts are racing and you tend to experience a lot of anxiety or stress right before you go to sleep? If that's the case, you've got a really negative association now associated with your bed. So being able to undo that association and creating a better, more positive association that kind of maximizes our quality of sleep. You can do that in a couple of different ways. You can set aside time throughout the day to worry, to kind of going over your to-do list for the next day, allowing your thoughts to play out worst case scenarios or whatever anxiety looks like for you, making sure you're doing that during the day, not in your bedroom. Another thing, if that isn't good enough or if that isn't effective enough, is to try a sleep journal. So kind of keeping a notebook close by where you can write down those stressful thoughts as they come up, kind of getting them out of your head onto paper and making a game plan to address them tomorrow when you're awake, not in your bed or not in your bedroom. Reminding yourself that your bed is not the place to solve the world's problems is a really great way of kind of telling your brain to quiet down, and really trying to make sure that the worrying doesn't happen there. And sometimes it means you might need to physically get up and out of bed and go worry in a different room before you come back in. Doing things like work in bed, watching stressful TV, scrolling through social media, the news, anything that feels upsetting, listening to audiobooks that are too activating or reading books. All of these are examples of now we've created a negative association with our bed. So limiting what you do in the bedroom is a really key part to addressing sleep hygiene. whatever activities you can take outside of the bedroom, the better. And really trying to make it so when you walk into your bedroom and you crawl into bed, there's an association of peace and relaxation. Another piece with association is having a really good wind down routine. So what that means is about 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed, really try to engage in similar activities that signal to your brain it's time to wind down, it's time to feel sleepy, it's time to produce melatonin. There are no right or wrong activities for this as long as you're consistent with them, except for doing things that feel too activating, things that aren't relaxing. So anything in bright light is going to stop that melatonin or at least slow it down from producing. So finding relaxing activities that you're doing consistently, and then you can get as creative as you want. Maybe you like stretching before you go to bed in low light. Maybe you like splashing warm water in your face or lighting a lavender candle. You know, smells are really powerful when it comes to creating associations in our brains. So being able to smell that same smell every night really sends a strong signal to our brains. Another thing that I want to talk about is just, you know, there are the blue light filters on our screens. So whether on our phone or our iPads or even, you know, the TV, there's still light that's getting in. It's still slowing down the production of melatonin. So really trying to at least limit, if not get rid of altogether, screen time before going to bed, 30 minutes to an hour will really help maximize your sleepiness and making sure that you are to the ultimate point of sleep before you crawl into bed. So just to recap, figuring out how many hours you actually need, being as consistent with those hours as possible, even on the weekends, and creating some better associations. All of these will really help to maximize your sleep-wake cycle, improve your quality of sleep, and hopefully help with mental health. Thanks.